This is not just another bond hearing. This is a case filled with serious allegations, questionable identities, and a trail of addresses that don't quite add up. A woman accused of entering someone else's home, changing the locks, and possibly taking over the property, while the real owners were away. Add to that missing valuables worth over $100,000 and even a firearm unaccounted for. The court now faces a critical decision. Is this someone who deserves release under supervision, or a risk too dangerous to let back into the public? And as the details unfold, one thing becomes clear. Nothing in this case is simple.
I would just ask for a reduce. I don't know that 250,000 is necessary in this case. My client is willing and capable of doing home confinement. Now, home is in contest, as I've been made aware by the court. However, it is my understanding that mom has a place to go. Mom has a place that she can stay.
Here we see a classic courtroom clash. The prosecution is pushing for a $250,000 bond, signaling they believe this is a high-risk defendant. Why such a high number? Because bond isn't just about showing up to court, it's about public safety. On the other side, the defense is trying to humanize the situation, mentioning family responsibilities, children, and the possibility of home confinement instead of jail. But there's a problem. Even the home situation is unclear. That uncertainty weakens the defense argument significantly. So what do you think matters more here? Family stability or the seriousness of the allegations?
Everything that we went through, but the sum and substance of it, there's at least a record of the court's decision regarding bond in this case. This case involves, allegedly, the entry by this defendant into someone else's home. Critical to that is the changing of the locks on that home that belonged to somebody else. I am also to understand that she was in possession of a deed to that home, a license which indicated that address, and voter registration at that address. As it turns out, at least the investigation has revealed that address is not hers. It belongs to two other individuals.
Those are the allegations, yes.
Right. That would have occurred basically December 25th through the 30th, but somewhere around that area of 2023. The end of December 2023. The court was then informed that there was another address on Panama that the defendant, that was her address. Going through the court records, because that's this court's jurisdiction for summary proceedings or landlord-tenant, a judgment evicting this defendant was issued by myself in mid-December of 2023. That would have made the writ or order of eviction date the end of 2023, approximately that same time that she allegedly entered these other individuals' home and sort of set up domicile there. So that's curious enough. Trying to figure out under what terms and what conditions the court would feel comfortable releasing the defendant, because these allegations are rather serious, that because these folks' home, these allegations, was transformed. There is approximately, these allegations, about $11,000 plus of property missing from these premises while these people were on vacation or just had left their home for a moment. There's also a weapon that is missing. The defendant is there and doesn't seem to be able, or doesn't seem to, under color of any right, have any ability to be in those premises. So there is this other address, Roundtree Boulevard in Ypsilanti Township, which is the address which is in the court file, which the court could see fit to potentially tether. Initially thought that I could tether this individual to that address, that there's something that we could do with that address to keep the public safe. I'm then informed, so that, again, the record's clear, that on March 11th of this year, that the defendant, although contacting the police, returned to the address in Ann Arbor, which was the address where she had moved into again. When the police and everybody had told her to stay away from that address, she went back there. That's March 11th. That the dates are important, and I informed counsel that
This is where things get intense. The judge lays out the timeline, and it's not looking good for the defendant. Allegedly entering a home, changing locks, and presenting documents like a deed and ID tied to an address that isn't actually hers. That's a major red flag. But it doesn't stop there. There's a pattern. Each time eviction happens, she appears at another property. That creates a narrative the court cannot ignore. And then comes the most serious concern. Missing property worth over $111,000 and a firearm that hasn't been recovered. From a legal standpoint, this raises both flight risk and public safety risk. So ask yourself, does this look like coincidence or a calculated pattern?
Is even supposed to be. Counsel did inform me upon the court's question that the Roundtree address she had been residing at for approximately 5 years. That fits with various court records that that's her address. But her current driver's license is for the Panama Street address. Moreover, the Panama address, the license was issued to her after she had been evicted from those premises. So I'm not clear what's going on. That means she would have had to present herself to the Secretary of State for the issuance of that driver's license, knowing that she no longer resides at that address. And she's at another address. And then there's this other address on Roundtree. So again, I don't know, even if I'm disinclined to, at this point, give a tether because I don't know where she is supposed to be.
I understand, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor. I did want to inform the court as well, Your Honor, aside from bond, that I've talked to my client, I've talked to my client's mother, I've talked to prosecution, we'll be submitting an evaluation for competency to this court as soon as possible. I can have that done and submitted by tomorrow so that we can start the proceedings on that. And I can always file a motion as I know to do if I find out a place for her to go. Should this court, it doesn't sound like this court is going to do anything but remand her at this point. I understand the court's position on that. I would, again, just renew my request for something a little more palatable than $250,000. I don't know that is.
In the end, the judge makes a firm decision. $250,000 cash bond with GPS tether conditions if released. This tells us the court sees this as a high-risk situation, not just because of the alleged crime, but because of behavior after the incident, like returning to the property even after being told to stay away. Add in ties to other states, and the court now worries about the possibility of fleeing jurisdiction. The mention of a competency evaluation also introduces another layer. Could mental health be playing a role here? This case highlights how courts weigh multiple factors: evidence, behavior, risk, and credibility. When those don't align, leniency becomes very unlikely. Back-end index pointing right, if you found this case as shocking as we did, make sure to hit that like button. Drop your opinion in the comments. Was the bond fair or too harsh? And don't forget to subscribe for more intense courtroom breakdowns.
has ties, as I see them, to other states. I see she has ties to Virginia and Tennessee. And my understanding is that her mother is up here visiting.
Yes, Your Honor.
From what state?
Virginia, Your Honor.
The other condition is, at least at this point, is GPS tether, home confinement prior to release. So if she were able to post this, she'd have to be on a GPS tether for home confinement. Our difficulty at this point is I don't know where that is.
Okay.
All right. And I'll leave it there. I'll set a competency hearing in this matter. 90 days out.
July 2nd at 9 a.m.
I'll set a competency hearing for July 2nd, 2024, 9 a.m.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Okay.